If you've ever been totally crushed by a computer at chess, well, you've experienced today's topic firsthand. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into exactly how artificial intelligence reasons strategically in competitive games. We're going to focus on the absolute bedrock of adversarial search, Minimax and alpha-beta pruning. These algorithms literally laid the groundwork for classical game-playing AI, and honestly, they're just completely fascinating to unpack. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with number 1, the adversarial problem, then move to 2, the rules of Minimax. From there, we'll hit 3, the game tree explosion, which leads us perfectly into 4, alpha-beta pruning, and we'll wrap up with 5, real-world applications. All right, section 1, the adversarial problem, or competing against intelligence. So why does a game-playing AI need a radically different approach than your standard everyday pathfinding algorithm? Well, traditional search assumes a completely passive environment. Think about your phone's GPS finding the fastest route home. The roads aren't actively trying to block you, right? But adversarial AI has to survive in a world where every single move fundamentally changes the game. And worse, a hostile opponent actively wants to ruin your plans. The future depends entirely on both players' decisions. Because the environment is so relentlessly hostile, the AI basically has to adopt this foundational kind of pessimistic assumption just to survive. The opponent is perfectly rational and will always play their absolute best. The AI can't just sit around hoping for a mistake, it has to brace for optimal play from the other side. Which brings us to section 2, the rules of Minimax, and laying the ground rules. To model this perfectly rational opponent we just talked about, AI uses the Minimax algorithm. But Minimax operates under 4 very strict conditions. First, it's got to be between exactly 2 players, typically called max and min. Second, it uses turn-based alternating movement. Third, it has to be completely deterministic, with 0 randomness. So no dice, no shuffled cards, every move has a totally predictable result. And fourth, it must be a strictly zero-sum game. Now, what does zero-sum actually mean? The crucial point of a zero-sum game is that if player max wins, player min automatically loses. Your gain is exactly their loss. This is exactly why a game like chess fits perfectly into this model, but a game like poker, with its hidden hands and heavy reliance on luck, simply doesn't. Let's move on to section 3, the game tree explosion, or the computational wall. Now that we've got the rules set, let's look at how this works in practice. Notice the natural rhythm of this algorithm. Minimax builds out all possible futures by generating legal moves and expanding the game tree all the way down to the end of the game, the leaves. Then, it evaluates those final positions and works backwards. It's a continuous back and forth. Max is constantly trying to pick the highest score, while Min aggressively fights to pick the lowest. It just propagates those values upward to find the best guaranteed outcome. But here is where we smash right into reality, the number 35. This represents the average branching factor, or basically the number of possible legal moves available on any given turn in a game like chess. Every single move you make creates roughly 35 new possible futures, and then each of those creates 35 more. And this leads us to the math of the explosion. The game tree grows exponentially, expressed mathematically as big O of b to the power of d. In simple terms, if the AI wants to look just a few moves ahead, it's instantly forced to evaluate millions, if not billions, of positions. Doing an exhaustive search quickly becomes entirely impossible for large games. Which brings us to section 4, alpha-beta pruning, the elegant shortcut to our problem. The core logic to fixing this massive computational wall is captured in a really simple question. Why evaluate branches you'll never choose? Think of it like reading a book to find the best chapter. If you're halfway through a new chapter and realize it's already way worse than your current favorite, why on earth would you waste time finishing it? You wouldn't. You just skip it. The AI does the exact same thing with branches of the game tree that can't possibly influence the final decision. To pull this off, the AI tracks 2 distinct values. Alpha tracks the absolute best score Max can guarantee so far. Beta tracks Min's best guarantee, and the cutoff rule is brilliant. The very moment Alpha meets or exceeds Beta, we know that branch is a dead end. Why? Because the opponent would never let us get there anyway, so we just surgically prune it away. Now, the absolute most crucial takeaway here is that pruning doesn't degrade the AI's intelligence at all. No optimal move is lost. Alpha-beta pruning delivers the exact same perfect result as pure Minimax, just with incredible efficiency, because it ignores all those irrelevant branches. When we look at the performance comparison, the difference is just staggering. Pure Minimax efficiency is totally bogged down by that full exponent. But alpha-beta pruning effectively cuts that exponent in half in the best-case scenario. This means the AI can look roughly twice as far ahead using the exact same computational power, provided it searches the best moves first. It is a massive game-changing optimization.
Okay, Section 5, Real-World Applications. Where do we go from here?
Let's see where these classical algorithms sit in the broader landscape today. Even though today's strongest systems often lean on deep learning and neural networks, Minimax and alpha-beta pruning remain heavily utilized. They are the conceptual backbone for classical game engines in chess, checkers, and Othello, and they're absolutely essential for anyone trying to understand multi-agent decision-making in both research and education. To really look at the complete picture, though, we have to weigh the pros and cons. While these foundational models beautifully guarantee optimal play against rational opponents, they definitely have real-world limits. Because they strictly assume perfect information and perfectly predictable outcomes, they struggle pretty hard when faced with hidden information, real randomness, or massive time constraints. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If the very foundation of adversarial search requires a perfectly logical opponent, what completely new methods must AI learn to effectively strategize against real, unpredictable, and frankly irrational humans? Thanks for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning the incredible algorithms that shape our technology.